Good evening on this Friday night. Good to have everybody in that's already in the session here. Let me see. We have a few in already. Looks like, all right, Mike Newland, great friend of the channel. He's in here. Good to see you, Mike. Good to have you with us. RC is in. RC is a channel member and was, I believe, the first channel member, the first RM Insider I ever had. So good to have you here. And then Chad's Money Minutes. Hey, Chad. Yo, good to see you. Good to see you. Glad you're all recovered. I know you had some sickness for a while, so glad you're doing better. Juan Garcia's here. Good evening, Rewards Master, he says. Good evening to you, Juan. And then we got Cogito Ergo Sum, she, her. I guess I'll just call you Cogito. How's that? So good evening, everyone. Good to see you. Good to have you here. All right. So this is my typical extra live. I probably won't have one for the next couple of weeks on Friday nights because the reason I have these is I try to stick with a consistent upload schedule for my YouTube. That's just, kind of the way I am about everything in life. So with my regular day job and everything else. So what I try to do is on Mondays, I have on Sundays, I always try to have a live in the afternoon. And then on Mondays, I put out a credit card video. On Wednesdays, I put out kind of a credit card adjacent video, something having to do with budgeting or with awards or something to that nature. And then on Friday, I try to do a travel video. And then on Saturday, another credit card video. So that's kind of my upload schedule I've been following the last couple months or so. And what I found, though, is that the travel videos on Friday are very limited because I don't always have something to post. I mean, we aren't on a trip all the time. Now, when we take a trip, generally we have several things because I'm filming the flights to do reviews of business class flights or whatever. And we always try to fly ones that we haven't done before for that very reason. So I can kind of share it with you on the channel. And then I do lounges and things of that nature. So if I don't have any of that, that's when I do these live extras. So I do have a couple of lounge videos that I've got the B-roll and stuff for, and I'll be putting those out the next 2 Fridays. So that's of the Capital One Lounge at DFW. I figure I better get it out. I went into it this last weekend, and that'll be my last access because I'm losing access as an authorized user. So I thought, well, I better do that one. And then I did the Centurion Lounge in Denver. So those will be coming out, and then we'll be back to when I don't have anything else to share on Fridays that's travel related. We'll be back to having these extra lives. So that's kind of how that works, if anybody was wondering. Let's see, we've got to get caught up. We got quite a few. Chad said, yo, we already mentioned that one. Juan is here. Cogito is here. Tampa Travel channel member. Tampa, good to have you with us. He says, good evening. Good evening to you. Ryan Morrison, 487. Ryan, good to have you here. He says, looking to learn from the master. Well, I like the name. I mean, I was kind of surprised when I got the channel started and nobody had that already, but it is a little bit, there's some hubris, I guess, there. And I really don't think there's a lot of guys it was amazing to me. People who weren't creators at the meetup knew more about a lot of stuff than I did. And I learned a lot from them. So, but thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. Polygraph Zone channel member, became a YouTube member tonight. Thank you. Great to have you on board. Love having channel members. It's funny because I got a message after one of the videos. Somebody said, hey, you always say your channel members are $2.99, but I tried to join and it's $3.99. And I was like, what? And so I pulled it up. Did you know? And most of you, I'm sure Chad already knows, and some of you who run channels, but did you know if you try to sign up through your phone, it's more money? I guess that that Apple takes a cut or something. So if you do my channel membership on a computer or something, it's $2.99. But if you do it on a phone, it's like $3.99. So that was weird. So it's possible it's supposed to be $2.99. So that's what it comes down to. Bruce Law. All right, Bruce, great supporter of the channel, gives a $4.99 super sticker, $5. Thank you so much. That helps out the channel immensely. Deeply appreciative. And Polygraph Zone, Gives us a bunch of little emojis there. Chad says, I will always love that name. Latin has always been cool to me. All right. Mike Newland gifted 5 memberships. I mean, that's just as good as a 15. Actually, it's better than even a $15 super sticker or super chat because, you know, people might like the membership and they might stick around past the first month. So thank you, Mike. That really, really helps out a lot. And I love it. Deeply appreciative. If you receive one of those memberships from Mike, make sure to thank him in here, and I'll thank him for you right now. So that's great, Mike. Thank you. Sleepy Rod, credit card news has not been the best. Is it the end of one-to-one transfer partners? Okay, you're referring to the Cathay Pacific devaluation with American Express. If I had to guess, and this is just a guess, I watched the frequent milers and their thing today. They had some discussion of it, and they're way smarter than me. But if I had to guess, American Express is making some changes on the ones that they think probably won't cause too many ripples. You know, won't have too many people get that upset about it, which Cathay Pacific would be one. Now, is that going to be the new standard? If it is the new standard, then there's going to be major opportunity for other ecosystems to really steal a big segment of the market. Because I'll just be straight with you. I love certain ecosystems. I love Citi because I can earn a ton of points through my spending and I can transfer it to good partners. But let's say that Citi started taking some of the common transfer partners. Let's say Air France that everybody else has too. And they started doing that like 5-4 or something like that. Well, suddenly that devalues how much I'm earning on my cards. The points are worth less. And so if that were the case, I'd be shopping for a different ecosystem. So there's still competition in the market. You know, at the end of the day, American Express still has to think about the fact that there's a Wells Fargo out there and there's a Citi and there's a Chase, and there's a Capital One. They have to think about the fact that they have competitors, and US Bank's about to enter that market too. So because of all these competitors, I think that they're going, it's a business. They're going to try to get away with what they can to make a little bit more profit. But are they going to devalue Aeroplan? Are they going to devalue Air France? Are they going to devalue Avios? I would be very surprised, Sleepy Rod, because the thing is that still the market still is going to put pressure on them. That's why I think Chase has been kind of tweaking their Chase Sapphire Reserve. And I think if I had to be, and I'm no prophet or Nostradamus, but if I had to guess, I think Chase is probably going to tweak in the new year that their Sapphire Reserve even more, because I just don't think they're getting the customer retention and the new customers they thought they would. Because when you put it side by side with the Platinum card, it earns better. But it's the credits and all that stuff just not as good. So that's my answer, Sleepy Rod. Chad says, Mike's coming in hot. Mike is always so supportive, deeply appreciative. Philip says, what's up, friends? Hey, Philip, good to have you on board. Nuracan 71, how's it all going? Good to have you here, Nuracan. Kajito says, thank you, Mike. Mike gives him a fist bump. There we go. That's pretty awesome. That's what I do with my little grandson. We do the fist bump thing. He thinks it's so cool. He's good at high fives too. But all right. Tom Bagwell says, love the channel. Hey, Tom, thank you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it very, very much. And Points Dexter 73. So Dexter or Points, I don't know which you prefer to go by, says, good evening. Good to have you here with us. And then Juan Garcia comes in with another 5 memberships. I'm going to have 10 new members. This is going to be my peak. They got 42 as of today. And so that'll be over 50 for the first time ever. That's a milestone on the Rewards Master. That's awesome. Sleepy Rod, Chase is the hero on this one. If Chase stands firm, I think these airline hotels will back off, hopefully not spread to other banks. Yeah, as irritated as I am with Chase on a lot of stuff, I'm going to applaud them on this deal with holding fast to 1 cent per point. If they can do that, they will save us all. But if they don't, then I think one of the other ones probably will, just to try to get market share. I mean, that's a free market system. So Points with Philip says, thanks, Juan. Thanking him for maybe a channel membership. All right. So let's go ahead and dive in. Now, what I always do on these Friday extra live streams that I have is I like to go through just recent comments from some of my videos. And sometimes they have some interesting either observations that I didn't think of. Sometimes it's critique of the video, and sometimes they're right, because the rewards master doesn't look at everything in a masterful way all the time. So sometimes they're right and I have to correct. And so I use these live sessions to kind of say, yep, I missed it on that one. But sometimes they're not, and it needs clarification. And so I like to do that on here as well. And sometimes there's just kind of fun things that are shared. All right, we got 36 first 11 minutes, 36 people watching. That's really awesome. Really exciting. So thank y'all all for being here. All right, let's go to the first one, then I'll get back to some comments after that. Okay, this was on just an old lounge access video that I did on the Hello Sky. It's a priority pass lounge at JFK. And this is on a day that Nona and I were stuck at JFK because of a repositioning flight for about 9 hours. So we just decided to do a lounge tour. So we went to a bunch of lounges. We went to the Delta Sky Lounge there because we'd flown in with Delta. Great lounge there at JFK. Really nice terrace outside for plane watching. That Delta Sky Club is great at JFK. We went to the Virgin Atlantic Lounge. It's kind of dated and old, but kind of classy. The food was pretty decent. We went to the Air India Lounge, and I'll just say that was my least favorite of the day. We went to this Hello Sky Lounge, and then we went to the Chase Sapphire Lounge, and then we went and got massages on my priority pass with my prestige card. It has like restaurants and stuff. So we both got massages at the well, whatever the massage place is called. It's got those massage chairs and all that stuff. So it was it was exhausting, but it was kind of a fun deal to do. So in the video, I mentioned that we went to several other lounges. So I just thought this would be fun to relay. And Diana Ortiz said, what are the other 3 lounges you were at on that day and which is the best? Okay, the other 3 lounges we were at, I mentioned 5 others. And the best, it was a real close tie between the Chase Sapphire Lounge at JFK and the Delta Sky Club. And I know you'd say, well, Delta Sky Club, that's not as good. I like Delta Sky Clubs. I like them a lot. I think they're nice. And the one there at JFK is really nice. The food was outstanding. It was really big and spacious. Now, the Sapphire Lounge was very good, and it had, of course, the menu you could order off of. And so I'm going to say they're tied for the best lounge that we had that day. So that's kind of my answer. Let me go back and see some of we got 43 watching. That's a great number. That's more than I've had in several live streams. 43, that's great. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't subscribed to the channel. I think 13 of you have liked so far. And when you do that, it helps more people to see that I'm running a live and hopefully get more people in here. That's true of super chats, super stickers, channel memberships, if you gift those or if you join yourself. So any of that stuff really helps, and I'm deeply appreciative. All right. Juan Garcia said, no problem. Points with Philip, enjoy it. And that's, of course, the channel membership that was gifted. Polygraph Zone, have a city to AA transfer question. If I transfer points, do they have a time limit with how long to use them? I have considerable amount of thank you points, thinking to free them now in case of a deval. No. American Airlines points do not expire if like you have activity in the account. So if you have a credit card, they'll never expire, any of their credit cards. So that they don't. Now, some of the others, I think Delta and United have an absolute no expiration policy. AAs will expire, but that's like if you sit them there and never do anything and don't have a card for a long time. So they're safe over at AA. Now, they're not necessarily safe from a devaluation, but they're safe over there at American Airlines. I do it a lot. I move points from Citi over to them all the time. Ryan Morrison, channel member, says, thanks for the membership, Juan. So he's a brand new channel member. Thanks to Juan Garcia. Juan Garcia said, had US bar annual fee hit on 12/10. Called today to product change to the Altitude Connect. Thank you for your service, US bar. Rest in peace. Yeah, man, they have changed that thing. And they haven't come out with transfer partners yet, have they? Or even like a full understanding of what the card's going to look like in the future. That's too bad for one of the cards that was a lot of people's very favorite. Never for me, because like I said, I just don't do cash back ever, except for my Amazon card. That's the only one I even have or use. So, but I know for a lot of people, that card was great with the 1.5, be able to pay yourself back and all that. Sleepy Rod, the new Delta Sky Club in Salt Lake City is the best lounge I've ever been to. Ever? Are you meaning domestic or overseas included? Yeah, it's I don't want to give too much of a spoiler because it'll come out next Friday, but I loved the Capital One DFW. I thought it was the best domestic lounge. It doesn't compare to Al Safwa and stuff like that overseas, but Turkish, things like that in Istanbul. But in the US, it was my favorite. But I will tell you that, and you can watch the video to see what I talk about, but it absolutely was disappointing this time. So they can go downhill. But yeah, that Delta Sky Club, I haven't been to the one in Salt, but I do fly through Salt Lake City sometimes. So that may happen in the future. Juan Garcia says to Ryan, enjoy the membership. All right, that's great. All right, so that's the first slide that we're looking at. Let's see, we have 32 in here right now. And let's see, we've had 21 likes. So that's really great. 21 likes. All right, so this one is on that my last live extra that I did. I think it was 2 weeks ago, maybe last week. But in some of the comments, this is some things we discussed in that live. This was a comment that came later. It says the difference is that I'd rather fly few hours in economy or premium economy and spend 7 to 14 days in a luxury hotel that I would never pay $800 to $1,000 a night than fly a few hours in first business class and stay 7 to 14 days in a not so good hotel. Most of the people don't have spend or referrals like influencers, YouTubers to get lots of points. First class to Hawaii and for two with Alaska is almost 450,000 points round trip. And don't let me start with Delta. Good luck with Turkish. All right. So the comment here is about, and I think most of you who watch me know that when it comes to hotels, I do not value hotel points very much at all. Now I do value Hyatt a little higher. I guess I preferred, I would too, but I'm just not going to burn. I'm not going to burn a transferable currency point for those. Now, sometimes I get points in the hotel programs just because, like for instance, I'm going to sign up for another Aspire card for Nona. I'll get a whole bunch of Hilton points and we'll burn them. We just burn them, use them for something. But I don't really bank, or my strategy has not. That's why Chase was never exciting to me, because I'm not on the Hyatt thing. I mean, because I get it. If you're looking for hotel points, Hyatt is awesome. I'm not looking for hotel points. I just rather pay for it. So what he's saying here is that it's not worth it in his estimation to have a luxury flight and then, not have as good a hotel when you can use your points on one of those hotel rooms. And that's just a great deal. And I get that. But for me, I think the cost difference is pretty significant. So for instance, when I'm flying business class, I am fine with flying. I mean, the worst business class I've ever been on is British Airways, but I've been on some others that are okay, like Condor. I've been on some others that are like, flying on Iberia, stuff like that. And I don't have to fly on Emirates or Etihad or Qatar in other words, I'm fine with just paying for, because that business class experience at a mid-tier or even low-tier business class is like light years better than flying in the back of the plane, especially for a tall guy. It's light years better. But a $300 hotel, in my opinion, now y'all may disagree, please do. But in my opinion, A $300 hotel is not light years different from a $1,000 hotel. In fact, depending on where you are, I have stayed in some $300 hotels that were a lot nicer than some $1,000 hotels we've stayed in, i.e., Abu Dhabi, $153 a night for, staying at the Conrad, which was amazing. So hotels to me with business class, you're always getting consistent upgrade. Awesome. With hotels, it just depends. And usually, since I'm willing to pay $200 or $300, especially because, what's everybody doing with all these credits? I have a lot of high dollar cards, and all of them have $300 credit on Elite, $600 credit on Platinum Business Card. I have all these credits I have to. If you have Delta cards, they all got Delta Stays credits. You got to use up those credits, and those are cash bookings. You get the money back, but it's cash bookings. So how many hotel nights are people staying in if they're using up all that money from all those cards? And, I don't know, a whole bunch of hotel points. So that's just kind of the way I look at it. And I respect what Romaine said here, but I think that's a valid way to do it. I'm not insulting it. I'm just saying there's a different way of looking at it. And for me, if I have to choose, I'm going to upgrade my flight and stay in a decent hotel, because frankly, and y'all would understand if you were in my shoes, because when you travel with Nona, you are burning the pavement the whole time because she wants to see everything. And so we're getting up in the morning, we're eating breakfast, we're out walking, walking 10 total miles that day, seeing every attraction, riding the city buses everywhere, getting on Viator and booking tours. And then we're back in the hotel 10 o'clock at night. We're getting in bed and we're up again in the morning doing it again. So it is, I like to have a really nice place to sleep, but if I have a decent place to sleep, that works for me too, if I have to choose one or the other. So that's kind of where I'm coming from on that. All right, we got 54, over 50. We peaked it. That's awesome. Great to have everybody in here. Please hit the like button. 26 have hit the like button so far. Appreciate that very, very much. Let's go back and catch up on some comments. Let's see. The next comment was Drinks with Sven. Sven, good to have you with us. Says caught COVID twice in the Salt Lake City Sky Club. Are you sure? That's wow. What a coincidence if it happened twice. That's amazing. So wow. I've had COVID 3 times through the years, and the second and third weren't too bad, but the first one was going to the hospital and everything. It was rough. So man, I will never fault anybody for not having good memories of that. So that's something. Jimmy Duff, my friend and good supporter of the channel member, says, hey, Bob. Hey, good to see you. Great to have you with us. And he comes through with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Jimmy. You're a great supporter of the channel. I appreciate it. Love meeting you in Puerto Rico. And he says, thanks for the advice. Anytime, anytime. He says, I'm team business class. IHG always has nice rooms internationally. Yeah. The truth is, I guess we're just not all that picky about hotel rooms, but if we're just there to sleep, then, a DoubleTree works pretty good. We've had I remember in Rome, we stayed at the Waldorf. We stayed at 3 different hotels, Crowne Plaza, because we were hotel hopping, we do that. And we stayed a couple nights in each of them. So we stayed a couple nights at Crowne Plaza. It was okay. Not great, but great spa, and was included, but okay. And the best meal I had that trip to Rome, great steak in the hotel restaurant, but it was okay. And then we also stayed in the Waldorf, the Cavalieri, I think it's called, the Waldorf Astoria Cavalieri. Great hotel. Didn't love it because it's not in the action. You can't walk to anything. It's way up on one of those hills of Rome. But the best thing we had was the Monte DoubleTree down by the train station, right in the heart of Rome, of the old city. And man, it had a rooftop area with a restaurant bar up there. We just had a magnificent time. And it was a $300 a night hotel, and we just stayed at $1,200 a night hotel. And we had a better time there. And Nona would tell you, she said, oh, I want to go back to the DoubleTree. We had a great time there. So that's kind of where I'm at on it too, Jimmy. All right, CJ Batista 2701. Good to have you with us. CJ says, Rewards Master, been meaning to catch a live, and now I finally made one. Welcome, welcome. Glad to meet you in Puerto Rico, my friend. CJ, it was great meeting you and everybody else there. It was just a fantastic experience. So great to have you on with us. New again. Good to have you new again. I made a live too. I'm live from Central America. Okay. Yeah, I go with work to Central America pretty much every year, either Honduras, Guatemala, and yeah, I always enjoy my time down there. If you don't mind, tell us which country you're in from down there. Points Dexter. Dexter says, I think he's got a point, and the reasoning people love Hyatt are sweet upgrades which make their points go a long way. Yeah, that's true if you have enough to status run. I mean, if you can get status, there's no doubt that status, but I am never going to be able to be loyal to one hotel program long enough to get Globalist, because Globalist is, well, it's just hard to get. I mean, especially when I can just buy it with Hilton and with Marriott. So buy a good status. So Filmo, great supporter and channel member. Filmo says, Filmo needs the business class flight and the suite. I'm bougie. All right. Well, Nona's getting there, and it's expensive. It's expensive. She's expensive. And, you know, I'm sure, Phil, you are too. So that's two peas in a pod. All right. New again says, Hyatt fees on reward stays. No one else has policy. And I never felt bad staying at Hyatt. Can't say that with any other chain. And many indie hotels are mediocre. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt Hyatts are good. I mean, if somebody wants to burn points on Hyatts, I think that's probably the best approach for hotels. It's just, for me, I'm looking for an even better experience on my cent per point value, and I'll just pay for the hotels for the most part. I mean, I probably spend, I don't know, $3,000 to $5,000 on hotels every year, and that's fine, and it works out well. But if I were buying my business class flights, it'd be a lot more than that. A lot more. I mean, probably 5 times or 6 times as much. New again says, but I'm a hardcore hotel free agent. Free agent, by the way. Okay, good. Bruce Law says, eating steak while in Rome in a hotel. All right. Are you in a nice one there? I bet you are. That'd be great. All right. Bruce Law says, shame on you. LOL. Eat Italian, my friend. You know, Bruce, we need to work on it, because the whole al dente, the way they cook pasta, it took a little getting used to, but we finally did. We finally did. So on our last trip to Rome, which was earlier this year, that other one I was talking about was in the past, but earlier this year, we branched out to much more Italian food, and we're liking it. It's growing on us, but it took a little bit. We're just a little bit too much stupid American, you know? So that's just the way it was. All right. CJ became a YouTube member, so join the channel. Thank you so much. Glad to have you a part of it. New again in Belize. Belize, English speaking country. That's fun. For your information, Amex Portal and FHR rates are horrendous. Oh, really? In Belize? Okay. Texas Dog says, howdy. I'm live from my family room. Okay. Hey, Texas Dog, good to have you with us often on our lives. Great to have you again. RC, hey, Florentine steak is an Italian dish. That's right. And we had one of those, and it was a monster. I don't know how many ounces, but it was multiple dozens of ounces. It was a monster, and it was great. And RC says, and a delicious one. That's true. That's true. All right. Double animal fries. That is, I've heard other people say it to you on their lives, but that is the coolest name ever. Hey, Rewards Master, love your content. You too, Animal Fries. Great to have you here with us. You might have been in a live before, but if it is, I can't remember, but I've seen your name all over the lives. It is the best name ever. All right, so let's see. We got 54 watching with 30 likes. That's awesome. Thank y'all. Let's move on to the next comment here. Okay, this was also on that live, and Kevin from Duval says this will be an agree to disagree situation about Hyatt, which, you know, I knew that was going to trigger a lot of people, the Hyatt thing, because everybody, you know, a lot of people love it. which makes sense. The vast majority of people, including me, aren't flying overseas regularly or even annually. So holding out for crazy cent per point redemptions to fly business class to Europe isn't what most of us are doing. We use our points for domestic travel, and that's where Hyatt shines, along with having two of the big four domestic airlines, plus throwing in Air Canada and JetBlue extras if you want. Chase works for me. I don't fly AA often, nor do I do any international travel. Therefore, Citi and others wouldn't work for me. Additionally, my points I'm built with Chase that I treat them as a part of the same ecosystem personally. All right, I'm gonna address this. If Nona and I did not do international travel, and we do at least 2 a year, sometimes it's 4, 3, 4. We've done 5 before, but we do at least 2 a year. And sometimes they're crazy. I mean, this last year, she wanted to go to Paris Disney and we didn't have a lot of time. So we literally flew to Paris. We stayed the night, went to Disney all day the next day, and then flew back the next day. So we do crazy stuff like that. And if we did not do international travel, it would change everything for me. It would, because the cent per point value that's possible with domestic travel is not the same deal that it is internationally. So when I read this from Kevin, it really made me self-reflect a little bit and say, that's absolutely true. So I'm going to try, if I can remember, I'm going to try to start giving a qualifier, just a disclaimer, if you will. When I talk about the value of cents per point, and kind of clarify, this is only for people who are going to regularly take international trips. And when I say international, I don't mean to the Caribbean. Okay. I mean international, Europe, Asia, you're flying over oceans, or South America, I guess would work too. So, I guess I don't know if I need to apologize because it wasn't intentional, but Kevin, if you're watching, which I haven't seen you in here yet, but if you see this later, I'm going to say to you, thank you for pointing this out to me, because I do think that that's something I should have considered, and I'd be given that qualifier, because the way I personally do it only works and only makes sense if a person's taking at least one big international trip per year, because, those same value propositions are not available. So suddenly, if you're just using it for domestic travel, suddenly Hyatt is a pretty good redemption, because 2 cents per point, pretty close to what you can get. Now, I would argue you can get better on American domestically, but not a lot better. Now, internationally, though, you can get 8 cents per point or 10 cents per point. But if that's not part of your travel plans, well, then, yeah, Kevin, you're right. Absolutely right. And if that were part of mine, if that's the way I did it, then I'd have to rethink everything. That's a good point. All right, let me go back up here and catch up on some comments, see what everybody has to say about Double Animal Fry says, appreciate your video on points hoarding. Okay, well, I hope it made sense to some people. A lot of people agreed and a lot of people didn't, but that's just kind of the way these things work in the community. But yeah, for me, it works at least. KRS 1905, good to have you on, KRS. One of the best cent per point hotel redemptions are Hyatt points plus cash for a suite. Yeah, I mean, that works. That's why people love them, for sure. Mike Newland, 51 on board. Yep. My number says 64 now. That's pretty exciting. And 32 have hit the like button. That's great. Texas Dog says hello to Mike. And Mike says hello back. Mike says he's heading back from Tyler. All right. Earl Campbell territory. All right. Then we look and LN 330, now a channel member. Thanks, Juan, for gifting the channel membership, which is great. Source King, good to have you on, Source King, channel member. I'm in this game to take trips I could never take otherwise, not to get a decent deal on a weekend trip to Cleveland. Yeah. And you and I are two peas in a pod on that. I mean, we are exactly the same. I can afford to travel, to travel where I want to go. I mean, especially domestically. I'm in this game. What I love about it is to experience things that would not be within my, any stretch of the imagination within my budget. And so that's what I'm looking to do, is to, really outshine what I could normally do and accentuate that with points and miles. So yeah, we're the same place, Source King. RC comes through with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you, RC. I appreciate that very, very much. Thank you for supporting the channel, as you always do. Sarvicio, channel member, says that's an issue with cent per point. Most YouTubers who flaunt cent per point are only talking about international trips. That's now applicable for 99% of domestic trips, and not that 99% of people take. I think that's fair. And let me say, that's why I want to be a little more transparent about, well, that's maybe not the right word, to give those qualifiers, because my particular stage of life, which a lot of people are in my stage of life. I mean, a lot of folks who are at the creator meetup are these kind of people. Not everybody on YouTube. And that is very fair and very real. And that is that not everybody takes international trips. And let me be clear. When Nona and I were raising our children, we did not take international trips, except when I had to for work, and it was in the economy when work was paying for it. And so we didn't take international trips. We didn't take big vacations. We stayed in our RV, or we stayed in friends' homes, and we took the Suburban across the U.S. and made beds for the kids in the Suburban. I mean, I get it. That doesn't fit everybody's lifestyle. But what I'm talking about with the cents per point is for people who are taking those international trips and who do have disposable income. And that's why I think this is such an interesting market. And that's why I'm so opposed to any time any of us, quote, experts on points and miles say anything as an absolute, make it. That's why it was mentioned before about my point sorting. It's been said as an absolute. A person should always earn and burn. A person should always earn and burn. And my only pushback to that is that it's really never appropriate to say always in this game. Because the only real rule that's always true, I think, in my opinion, is never carry a balance on a credit card, never pay interest on credit cards. That's kind of the only absolute rule. So I think that's an important thing. So Sarvicio, thank you for pointing that out. Mike says 57, now 64, and looks like we dropped a little bit. New again says the average person, not average person in this space, isn't beholden to first and business class seats. They'd rather point stretch above all else. Cents per point is probably not even next criteria, I suspect. Yeah, I think that's probably true. And, and so I guess what's happening is I'm making videos for that appeal. Hopefully all of my videos give information to everybody, but some of my videos are specific to people who aren't, the 80%, maybe they're the 20%. So thank you, New again. That's a good observation. LN330 gifted a channel membership. Thank you so much, LN. Appreciate it. Somebody will benefit from that. Make sure to thank them if you receive it. Servicio, that's the issue with YouTubers falling cent per point. It causes people to hoard, trying to get to the same cent per point when most travelers only travel domestically and can rest more than 2 cents per point. Yeah, 2 cents per point is not bad domestically. It can be beat on occasion, but not very often. But internationally, you can beat it all the time, and that's what has to be clarified, I think. Kind of wish some experts would make guides for domestic travel. 1.5 cents per point to 2 cents per point is on the field, which is very sad. Yeah, that's where the Chase Sapphire Reserve used to shine. I mean, honestly, that 1.5 on everything for domestic travelers was clutch. We got some family members in my family that put a lot of spend on credit cards through businesses and stuff, and they just slammed that, but they only do domestic travel. And it was a major devaluation for the vast majority of people who only do domestic travel. Major devaluation. Eduardo Vargas, good to have you, Eduardo. Mesa shut down. Okay, I'm not sure what you're meaning by that. RC says, even though my travel style is different than yours, I find so much value in your content. I'm less concerned about the point value, but you've taught me so much about how to earn points. Well, good, good. Glad to hear that. I do think that my emphasis on city works either way, because for domestic travel, city is powerful because of American Airlines, and you can earn so many points. So I do think that's true for sure. Oh, Eduardo clarifies, says he has talked about this. Okay. Dark Dan. All right, Dan, good to have you on. I just don't have enough earn points to do the 5 cents per point redemption. Yeah. I mean, either not enough spend. I mean, a lot of people don't. You either don't have enough spend, or people don't have enough signups to get enough sign-up bonuses. So yeah, everybody's got to figure it out based upon their own travel style. That's absolutely true. Mike Newland, I don't even look at cent per point. If I think it's a good deal, I book it. That's the way I play the game. That's not a bad way to do it. Frankly, and when you're in this game long enough, intuition is a real thing, and it helps. Jimmy, everyone has different goals. Figure out what you want and maximize your rewards. Texas Dog, I'm from the Dugrass School of Points. I just use them. Don't care about cent per point. All right. Yeah. I mean, and Dugrass, I mean, we had lunch together one day at the creator meetup. We get along great and have a lot of things in common. And we're on totally opposite ends of the spectrum on this. But that's what I'm saying. There's room for everybody of different travel styles. And I think the important thing is just to respect that there's not just one way to do it. So a lot of the things I'm talking about on here, I'm just defending that there's not just one way to do it, because sometimes people are like for instance, what I said, that you absolutely you have to earn and burn, or absolutely hide is the best redemption you're going to get. Well, not for everybody, not for everybody. And that's my only point by all of that. Breaking news, Eduardo. Are you talking about the Mesa? Are you meaning the Mesa card is shut down? I have not heard that today. So, Source King, no need to apologize. I think you've been very upfront about how you travel and how you use your points. Yep, I've tried to be, at least. So I'm glad to hear that you agree. All right, there's 52 in here. Let's move on to the next slide. All right, this is again on the live extra. DC Consulting said, whatever the points garbage is pushing must be going down. We stay 100 nights per year in hotels. That's amazing. 100 nights per year in a hotel. I mean, wow. You think, yeah, wow. 3 weeks Asia, 2 weeks Hawaii, starting next week, Calgary today, Accor, IHG, Hilton, Marriott, so many places. We rarely stay at Hyatt. This what he's referring to, DC Consulting. He's talking about the points guy and that thing that Matt was in here last time from his channel. And Matt did a thing about how Chase had hired the points guy to do that special kind of infomercial on the Chase Sapphire Reserve. And so that's what he's referring to here. Okay, Eduardo, he's clarifying. They just sent an email. Can't redeem your points either. Confirmed by points with Philip. Okay, are they shut down for good, or is it like they're having a tech difficulty? Because tech difficulty, okay, but shut down for good, that would be, I mean, that's bad faith. That would be awful. Let's move on a little bit. Okay, this is on my complete everyday spend strategy, 25 categories, and I went through everything, every card I use in each category. And Kenny says, I think the reason most people don't optimize miles point setups is because you accrue points and miles relatively slowly, and it's a while until you'll be able to transfer them over to do anything meaningful. It's a lot more hoop jumping, waiting for the best redemption times, or having to be flexible with dates and times for flights and travel. If you do this, you'll basically have to park your points until you get an intro offer. Okay, I understand what Kenny's saying. And I think he's right for a lot of people, but again, not for everybody. So like in America, there are so many small business owners, right? And if you're a plumber, or if you're an electrician, or if I've got a dentist in my family, they own a dental practice. How many different kinds of businesses are there? If you own a store, if you own a restaurant, all those people have lots and lots of spend. And They don't have to. And that's why, I mean, I'd love to talk to some of those people with big spend because frankly, most of the people I know with really big business spend just burn their points at low redemption values. I mean, they do, which is just it makes me so sad for them. And so all I would respond to Kenny is to say, yeah, that's true. Some people that the only way to get a lot of points is sign up bonuses, but there are a lot of people who have a lot. Now, not the majority of people probably, but there are a lot of people who have a lot of spend. In my particular case, I don't, except for this YouTube channel, I don't own my own business, but in my work, I buy a lot of things and get reimbursed. So those things, that's spend. I mean, it's significant spend. And there are people like that as well. So I think that there's just not a one size fits all, blanket that you can put over everything and everybody. New again says new Chase UR program isn't a deval for all. I was never interested. I am now since the refresh, at least for hotels. They should open up 2 cents per point for economy seats, though, too. Yeah, I think it'd be a lot better that way. The problem for me, I don't have the reserve, and I haven't really looked into getting it because the restaurant thing bugs me because I'd have to only use it when I travel, and there's so few of them. I'd have to drive like 5 hours to get to those restaurants. I mean, it's just not. I mean, there's so many more resi restaurants. It's just so much better in that way. And then the hotels, the 2 nights, I don't mind 2 nights on something like the Elite, the Strata Elite card, any level of hotel. But when you're talking about $700-800 a night hotels, and you got to have 2 nights, and they're giving you back what ends up being a pretty small percentage of it, I just don't usually pay $700 a night for hotels. So I just don't do that. So that to me, it doesn't work. But for people who do, I mean, frankly, for people who do, it does work. Okay. Eduardo says it's shut down for good. Shut down for good. That's going to be the headline on everybody's videos tomorrow. I promise you. That is crazy. And you heard it here first on the Rewards Master Live, even though he heard it here first too, from Eduardo. So thank you, Eduardo. That is bad. That is so bad. Pull up their website live. Built is next. Built is next. Well, let's hope not. Okay. KRS 1905. I have 147 Hyatt nights through spend on my Hyatt business card and stay. I'll hit 150 nights for the year. Wow. That is, I mean, I'd be all about, because you're definitely globalist. So I'd be all about Hyatt too if I had that. Well, let's get Polygraph Zone says, I get what I want with points. I don't do the math at booking unless it seems outrageous. However, I do look back and see how I did. That's how I do it too. I don't usually do the math, but I can kind of eyeball it and know. All hotel bookings get 12% on Elite except Hilton. I book directly. Yeah, the 12% is just crazy good. And I will say this, people say, yeah, but they're more expensive. It's weird, but on the city site, I have found, now this may not be true across the board, but just been my experience, but I have found that Marriott's aren't more expensive. Some of the others are, but Marriott's aren't. So I don't know what the deal is with that. Polygraph Zone, some redemptions are good, some are bad, but all are free as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. New again, Mesa, full on chaotic, Amex going hard, Nerfs now even, SoFi, and etc. The end of 2026 is the year I learned to love Chase. Okay. Well, a lot of people didn't like Chase in 2026. I'm still just a city guy, but that is crazy on Mesa. YouTube experiment. Wow, that's crazy. Mesa gone real quick. Yeah. I mean, their investment money must have run out and they haven't made a profit. So they're shutting down. That's what I would figure. All right, we're at 49 minutes, so we got about 10 minutes or so left. Let's look at another one. This was on my ranking of ecosystems. And just to remind you how I ranked them, in last place, I put Wells Fargo. Second to last, I put Chase because, the way I do it, obviously. Then I put Capital One, and that's what people got real issue with is putting Capital One above. And rethinking it since, I'm not sure I would do it that way again. But then in third place, I put Amex And then in second place, let's see, what did I put? No, I think third place I put Built, then I put Amex, and then I put Citi at the top. And Freedom Finance Fund said Chase is better than Capital One in every aspect. Your biggest gripe about Chase is you couldn't abuse Inc. signups anymore. Okay, and my comment below his comment was, I would say take advantage of rather than abuse. Because if they're allowing you, they know what we're doing. It's not abuse. I mean, abuse sounds like it's shady. And the ink train was something we all did, but yeah, it's gone. And my problem is not with Chase that they aren't allowing that particular thing anymore. And hey, they got to make money. It's a business. So I get it, but I'm just saying there are others that are more lucrative. That's my only point. And just put yourself in my shoes. I know some of you are saying, yeah, Chase is so, and you're thinking it probably because of Hyatt. Imagine they didn't have Hyatt, or that you were like me and you just didn't care about that. Would they be top of your list if either they didn't have Hyatt or you didn't care about that, and you didn't care about hotel points at all? Who would be at the top of your list? And I think that's kind of what I was trying to get at, and some obviously didn't agree. YouTube experiment. What else did I miss? Hello, all. Yeah. Well, I missed that one too. That's new to me. New again. Lots of sub $400 hotels, night hotels on edit. Oh, okay. I hadn't seen them, but okay. CSR is true travel card. Have to travel to claw back your annual fee. Not the case with Platinum. You can be a retail coupon clipper. That is true with the Platinum. It's a lifestyle card, if you want to call it that. But it's just in everything. It's everything from Walmart to Resi restaurants. I mean, it's everything. But you can get good value with it. There's no doubt. Mike says, but your thoughts on Capital One were your thoughts. They're not everybody's. So they were probably good for you. Yeah, that's true. And, you know, that's the thing. If you take Hyatt out of the equation and I know a lot of people can't have trouble doing that because they just associate Chase Hyatt, Chase Hyatt, Chase Hyatt. But if you take Hyatt out of the equation, are they better than Capital One? Well, I mean, you can kind of earn real consistent with Capital One in more categories. So, you know, that was my point. Filmo, URs are too hard to earn without subs. 1.5x is not worth the squeeze. Yeah, and that is one of my big things. I think they were able to get away with that with the Freedom Unlimited card forever because they were so valuable. Well, are they anymore? That'll be the question. YouTube experiment. Does anyone else here think Built will not last long on cardless? I don't know. I think Built has a lot bigger investors. And I think their partners are way better than Mesa's were. I don't know. Built is kind of built out into a bigger thing. I'm hopeful they'll last. And they've been around a lot longer than Mesa. So they have a more proven business model. We'll see. All right, we got 61 people. That's a new record for tonight. And it's getting close to my all-time record. So 61 people watching. That is awesome. 35 have hit the like button. We got about 5 to 10 more minutes left. This was on a previous live that I do on Sunday afternoons. And Kiki Adventures, if you haven't seen her channel, it's a great channel, so check it out. But Kiki says, I love your videos. Appreciate that. For me, earn and burn needs to be said and reiterated because the average household income in the U.S. is $52,000. Because of CP cents per point and just competitive nature of everyone, I think earn and burn needs to be at the forefront. I would hate for someone not to take a trip because cent per point isn't optimized. Okay, and that's fair. However, in the live, I did point out that I'm meaning this for people who earn more points than they can spend. And it's not because of referrals. Let me clear this up. I do put referral links on my videos, but if you watch my channel very much, you know this is true. Most of my referral links are like Capital One, who I don't love Capital One. I don't hate them, but I don't love them. They're Chase. Chase is not my favorite. I don't hate them, but they're not my favorite. And then American Express, and I do like American Express. But my number one ecosystem is Citi. I never put a referral link for Citi. And I'm the guy people sometimes ask questions to about Citi. I'm the Citi guy, kind of. But I don't make very much from referral links, hardly at anything, hardly at all, because I push Citi and Citi doesn't do referral links or affiliate links. So I don't have much of that. So if you think that we're just all getting our points through that, no, that's not how I get mine. In fact, the points I get from referrals would barely buy me a one-way domestic flight. Just not very valuable. Maybe one hotel night at a cheap hotel. I mean, I just don't get any. And so that's just not true of every YouTuber. Some of the big YouTubers, I'm sure, yes. And frankly, that's probably, part of why some of the cards are more popular than others. But I think Key has a good point. If you have a $52,000 a year income, you're not going to have a lot of high spend. Then cents per point probably doesn't make sense, because you probably don't have a big budget to be able to budget money for travel. So you can't have the approach of, I'm just going to upgrade my travel I'm already doing, because you wouldn't be able to do that travel without it. So that person needs to adjust and use a different strategy. So I think Key had a good point there. Okay. Let's go back and catch up on some comments. YouTube asked about Bill. New again says, I give Bill 12 to 18 months before they partner with some Saudi private equity fund. Yeah, that would save them for sure. YouTube experiment. I could see Built either going the way of the dodo bird or give up on mortgages and rent and transition to something like Rove. Yeah, the mortgage and rent, I've never understood how they make anything on that, on the rent. And clearly they didn't. Wells Fargo absorbed it, but Wells Fargo says no more. They're not going to do that. KRS says sometimes there are more valuable in popular ecosystems that people fanboy over. You're not competing with as many people for redemptions. Yeah, it's true. Texas Dog. And they will run the old Visa commercials emphasizing that only Built card is accepted events. All right, new again. Ink Train stopping is overrated because everyone should be earning points from second program anyway. Amex is ideal. I agree. They're my second program too. YouTube experiment. Citi has referral links for checking account. Yep, they do. I don't have one of those though. Rand the internet. I guess I'm just going to call you Rand. Rand says, I've been with Chase for years. UR points are great, but they're too slow to earn. I'll see so many videos on tedious strategies to earn UR points. It's tiresome. Yeah, they're getting harder. Like I said, the Ink Train was a consistent way to do it, but they're getting harder. New again, YouTube experiments. Citibank accounts? No way, bro. Wouldn't even recommend to my enemies. Well, maybe I would. To his enemies, right? And then says, Citi is good for checking, but their app isn't that intuitive. All right. And Charvicio, spreading spend across multiple ecosystems is not ideal for most Americans who make between 50 and 60K. Wells Fargo is pretty good for earning. Yeah, I do think if Wells Fargo didn't hate me, I mean, I really want the Attune card. Just applied for it again the other day. Got told no. Even though they said my credit, I looked on the app before I applied. Credit score way up in the 800s. And nope, don't want me. Too many card accounts. So that's kind of stinks. All right, we are at 58 minutes. Let's see if we can get one more in here. Comments on rethinking hotel credit cards, a different approach. And this is where I talk about that maybe the best way to do it if you pay cash for hotels is to use those incredible rates that you get in the portal, especially with Capital One Venture X 10 times. With Citi, several of their cards is 10 times. And then one of their cards, the Elite, is 12 times earnings. So Ebby Kahan said this, definitely the Chase Sapphire Reserve with the points boost at 2x in the portal is the best way to book a lot of nicer hotel stays, especially when you stack with all the Sapphire credits. Now, I would agree if you're wanting that level of high-end hotels and if you want a great cent per point value for hotels, I would agree. 2x in their portal is very, very good. RC says, I love the Citi app, actually. Yeah, I like the City app. I got a video. I just recorded it. That'll be coming out next week. Ranking different apps, the different bank apps. City wasn't my first favorite, by the way, but was. I do think it's pretty decent. YouTube experiment. Attune is a weird card. It's quirky. It is quirky. I rarely have spend in those categories. I guess if I had pets, it'd be a good card. Well, I go to the movies sometimes. You know, I get a haircut once every other month or so, or every month and a half, maybe. Yeah, sometimes I do in those categories. So RC still talking about the City app, says especially how easy to track my credits. Yeah, they're good at that. What I've used it and what is left over on each credit. I mean, yeah, it does tell you how much you've used and how much is left. Most issues, New Again says most issues with City and bank accounts are bank account related. Plenty of DPs, including from government. Yeah. All right. Well, we're wrapping up here. KRS says, I'm surprised that Mesa folded before USB folded. A little bit of sarcasm, but USB is a dumpster fire. Yeah. Right now, for sure. Well, we are at an hour and 1 minute, and we got still 58 people in here. I want to thank you to everybody, particularly those who help support the channel. We had a lot of folks gift memberships tonight. I'm trying to scroll back up and see. LN330 gifted 1 channel membership. Thank you for that. RC gave a $4.99 gift. Thank you for that, RC. CJ Batista 2701 became a new member. So thank you for joining the channel. Jimmy Duff, good friend, gave $4.99. Appreciate that. Juan Garcia gifted 5 channel memberships. Appreciate that so much. And Mike Newland gifted 5 channel memberships. And then Bruce Law gave a $4.99 super sticker, and Polygraph Zone became a new member of the channel. So that is a lot of love and a lot of support. And so I want to tell you all from the bottom of my heart, I'm deeply humbled. Thank you so much. And thank you for being here. And I plan on having a live Sunday afternoon. So hopefully you'll be able to tune into that, whichever one. And look forward to seeing you then. So I'm going to wrap up. Thank you for being here. See you next time.